shadow in the government's game. Pawn as a child with no face and no name. They stole my past to leave me cold and alone. Always searching for a place I could call home. I was lost in the dark, just a tool in the hand, till she pulled me close and helped me understand. Now the fire inside is starting to rise. I can see the truth through 1,000 lies. Now I tear through the veil, leave holes in the sky. I can read every thought in the blink of an eye. Danica, my witch, she's the magic in me. Yeah, I finally found what they took from me. With a hellhound beside me, I'm standing my ground. No longer a ghost that's never been found. In the dead of the night, I can hear the call. All the ghosts of my past scratching through the wall. My eyes change colors, the power has grown. With Crowley the hound, I'm never alone. I used to be hollow, a man made of glass, but now I am reclaiming every year that has passed. Every memory is falling right back into place. I know every name and I remember every face. Now I tear through the veil, leave holes in the sky. I can read every thought in the blink of an eye. Danica, my witch, she's a magic in me. Yeah, I finally found what they took from me. With a hellhound beside me, I'm standing my ground. No longer a ghost that's never been found. I ain't running no more, yeah, I'm ready to fight. Gonna settle that debt in the depth of the night. They tried to break me, they tried to erase, but they can't hide the blood from the scars on my face. The veil is thin and the engine is hot. I'm taking back everything that they thought I forgot. Now I tear through the veil, leave holes in the sky. I can read every thought in the blink of an eye. Danica, my witch, she's the magic in me. Yeah, I finally found what they took from me. With a hellhound beside me, I'm standing my ground. No longer a ghost that's never been found. I remember it all now. Every single face, I'm calling for you in the dead of the night.
Hello everybody, this is Henry here, and tonight I'm going to take you on a little trip up north, northern Illinois, a place called Morrison, Illinois. Now just outside of town there's a covered bridge, and it's not hard to locate. But before I tell you the story about that, I can tear holes in the fabric of time and space, let you look back in time. I can also open portals. Now tonight, I'm going to be talking a little bit about this. See, there's natural portals and natural tears in time. They can be outside in the middle of nowhere. They can also be inside of a house, a barn. They can be anywhere. And tonight I'll kind of hit on some of those, so maybe it kind of helps you to understand. Well, every place I've always lived, I've always took a little bit of time for myself and the dog that I had at the time. We'd take off and go see some of the sights wherever it was I was living. I bounced around like a gypsy, trying to stay ahead of the game. That time they would send somebody to locate me. I'd done moved on. Always had to stay one step ahead. Thanks to the old man that's inside of me, he's always kept me one step ahead of the game. But in this case, I was living up north, and I won't say where, but not far from there. And I kept hearing stories about this covered bridge. Covered bridges always kind of fascinated me. I guess because of their ties to a time long ago, and seeing them, on calendars and posters. They just held something magical. I don't know what, but so I decided on one particular day, I'd had all kinds of time, and out to a cooler with some sandwiches and whatnot, sodas. Loaded up my dog and decided I was going to go check this place out. I'd been hearing stories about it, and I asked around. I'd seen it advertised in like the visitor centers and things. I even went online and checked it out. So now I'm going to get my chance to see my first covered bridge. That'd be a first for me. And it was out in Bubba Fuck Egypt, out there in the middle of nowhere, which made it even better. I could kind of let my guard down a little bit. Well, we loaded up the old pickup and filled up with gas and got a Slim Jim for the dog, and we headed out that day. About an hour, 2-hour drive. Nice sunny day out. Slight breeze. About 73, 74 degrees that day. So I could let the windows down and not freeze my ass off. So I put the heater down on low in the floorboard, and we headed out. And I headed north. Of course, I had to go west first and then go north, but in any case, got to the town of Morrison, and they said there was signs. So I come in through town there and started seeing the sign. Turn here for the covered bridge. Historic covered bridge. It's probably about 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon time I got up that far. So I headed down on that street. It ended up being after a ways, a county road. And I popped over the hill, and there it was, ahead of me. So I got down there and turned off, parked the truck, and looked around, and I figured I better put the dog on the leash because not sure if there might be somebody walking around. And wasn't sure about what the leash laws were, but I thought I better at least keep them on leash. I stood there after we got out of the truck and put the lead on him and choke collar. I was amazed. It was just like I'd seen in the books, on the calendars, really pretty. Of course, I like old things like that. Takes me back to another time and place. But I watched around, I didn't see nobody, so me and the dog headed up onto the blacktop. We'd pull up on a gravel park place down there, and little parking area where you can walk up and visit the bridge, look it over and take pictures. And So we headed up that way, and I still didn't see nobody. I thought, well, that's good. We got the bridge all to ourselves. Well, we messed around, and I took a few pictures, and we decided to sit there and listen to the water running underneath the bridge, take in the sounds of nature. So, got the bright idea that I'd come back another day. Because something told me that I bet there's things that happens here at nighttime that could raise the hair on your head. Well, that fascinates shit out of me. So after we got done, went back to the truck and ate a little bit. Sat there and enjoying the sun. And sun started setting. So we packed her up for the day and headed back home. Well, the following week, I had a few days there that I could sneak off. So again, I loaded the cooler, loaded the dog. A little later in the afternoon, but I'd plan on getting there, maybe do a little goat hunting. You don't ever want to tell nobody that, because they might decide to go there just to kind of screw with you. So I didn't tell nobody except for the dog, and he don't speak English, so that's good for go. We headed back toward Morrison and started coming in through town there, and by the old gas station there was that sign, covered bridge. I took my time because I wasn't in no big hurry. The darker it got, the better it'd be. So I approached the hill and see the bridge down there, and it was all lit up. But I noticed something. There was a funny looking fog that was hanging all around the bridge and on that creek. I thought, well, this will make it even better. So I slowly approached the bridge and turned off on that little parking place and parked the truck and got me a soda and the dog a Slim Jim. Put the choke collar on and opened the door, and he jumped out. Of course, I had him on lead, so he wasn't going far. I was sitting there drinking my soda, smoking a cigarette. That dog, he's still chewing on his Slim Jim. He was hell on Slim Jim. But that was his thing, so more power to him. Got done drinking my soda, and I smashed the can, threw it in the back of the truck, lit me another cigarette, grabbed my stuff, and locked the doors, and put the key in my pocket. We headed up that way and had my little flashlight out, trying to look for the best place to go up. And we made it to the top of the hill there, onto the blacktop, and it was funny, this fog, it looked like it only mainly hung right around the bridge, kind of encompassed it, you know. It was like the bridge was here, and that fog was kind of just like this. But you could look and see that bridge in there. I really didn't think too much about it. We had to walk probably about 50, 60 foot before you entered the bridge. So I turned my light off because the light was on the inside. We stepped through, and I knew a temperature drop. It probably about 4 or 5 degree drop. Well, we stepped through that cold area and walked along, and it kind of echoed in there. Any sound you heard that come through there echoed. You could hear the little stream down below running and splashing to the rocks. Every now and then you hear a fish jump. Maybe an old catfish catching a moth. They got too close to the water and he spotted him, jump up and catch him. I tell you something about those catfish. They're pretty smart. That's why they call them catfish. Catfish been known to watch a bug. When they get to swimming, they jump out of the water and do a flip, and they hit the bug with their tail, and it makes kind of a cup, slam it down to the water, and then they spin back and grab it. If I hadn't seen it from my own eyes, I'd thought that people were full of shit tell me that, but they're right. Just like crawdad, they carry their babies in their tail. I didn't know that either, but I learned it. So anyway, we're walking in this bridge, and at the other end on the outside, you could see it was dark, but you could see a little bit of the road because the light's shining outside there a little bit. And there wasn't no fog there. Oh, that's weird as hell. Okay. I ain't the creator. You can paint it however you want to. Well, I was in there looking around, listening, and looking at how the structure was put together, and was they using nails or screws, or did they use the wooden dowels? I noticed there was a lot of wooden dowels, but there was also some of them over the square looked like horseshoe nails. They used some of those too, big ones. And some of the main structure, they used big giant bolts with washers and screws. I mean, they were huge. Galvanized so they didn't rust. And I'm really looking this thing over. And I'm fascinated. And my dog, he's looking around, listening and sniffing, checking the situation out. Well, movement catches my eye. I'm like a cat. I seen something at the corner of my eye, so I hurry up, whip my head around and look. Here come this lady with this great big fucking dog. I mean, that son of a bitch was huge. They act like they didn't see us, so I pulled my dog over to the side, and that way I'd let them pass, because I wasn't in no big hurry. I was examining the bridge, taking it all in, taking a mental note. This lady never did pick up pace or anything. She just kept a steady walk, kept her head straight ahead. And this bridge is pretty good size. I mean, I don't know how big all the other covered bridges are, but for covered bridge, it was pretty good size. And I'm kind of watching them at the corner of my eye and making my dog stay there beside me. The reason being because he was a Staffordshire Pit Bull Terrier. They get a bad rap. Mine was pretty good. He never really ever fought with other dogs. Now, if a dog would try to attack me, he might get between me and that dog. But as far as attacking just for shits and giggles, never did, but I always kept an eye on him. And I'm watching him, watching them. Well, he's sitting there, and all of a sudden he pushes his chest out. His head and neck stretch up, and he starts arching. He starts that with his 2 feet, like he's kind of prancing with his 2 front feet, just kind of back and forth, like he's wanting to play. Now let me tell you something about this dog that I had before I got this one here. I wouldn't have been afraid to wear $1,100 bill strapped on me and no clothes and walk right down the middle of New York City singing New York's My Home. Wasn't nobody gonna get close to me. But that dog had one quirk. I guess can't hold it against him because he was a male dog. Women could do anything in the world with him. Now you let a man even get close, and that's a different story. So I knew it wasn't because of the lady coming. I guess he wanted to play with that dog. Because his tail wasn't up over his back, that's a sign of aggression. Showing dominance. Well, anyway, I'm watching him, and I happened to look back, and they come even with me, and I thought, well, that's weird, because it seemed like they were too far away to get there that quick. But as they passed by, I waved, and the lady nodded her head and kept on walking. So we walked to the other end, and I was like, I hope she stays over there, because I got to pee. So I went off, took him off the bridge down by a couple of trees, and did my business, and got done. I'd listen and look. Thought, well, maybe she's on the other side somewhere. In that fog, she can't see me. So we sat there and listened to that little creek running there, and I got my flashlight out, shined around because it was dark. But inside that covered bridge, it was all lit up, nice and pretty. We go back up on top on the road, and I put my light back in my pocket. I'm watching close because I want to know if they're in that bridge coming back toward me so I can get on my side, because I was walking down the center of it looking so I could see both sides real good. I was walking along, and I ain't very far in there, maybe about 30 foot. All of a sudden I heard whistling, and somebody whistling a tune. Here come that lady and that dog, so I got my dog over the head and stopped and made him sit. And I'm watching them, and they look like real people, and I thought maybe they might have lived there close somewhere, because I never did hear a car pull up, or a motorcycle. Well, this lady's walking, and all of a sudden I noticed there was like a little bit of fog seeping through the cracks in the bridge right in the center. And it's kind of like going up slowly, just kind of wispy. I start feeling that buzzing and hearing that crackling sound. Like she's going to walk right into a portal. And her and that dog walked right into that portal cloud. Gone. I was thinking, shit. I wonder if she realized she went into a portal. I guess she'll find out when she gets to her side. As soon as her and that dog disappeared in that portal cloud, it went back down into under the bridge. Well, the buzzing and stuff quit, so I told the dog, I said, better get our ass back there in case that son bitch decided to open. You know the truck's on the other side over there. I sure as hell ain't swimming. So we made a haste getting across there, just in case that son bitch come back. So we're sitting there at the truck. He's eating another Slim Jim, a couple pieces of jerky. And I'm sitting there thinking, holy shit, that could have been us had I not been able to feel that. While I'm sitting there, this car pulls in. There's a guy and a older lady. They were probably, I'd say probably in their 50s or 60s. They got out of the vehicle, and walked in front of my truck and stopped there by the driver's side door. They said, "Nice night out, isn't it?" I said, "Yeah." And I'm thinking to myself, do I tell them or just keep my mouth shut? I thought, well, I'll ease into the conversation maybe. They said, "You from around here?" I was like, "Nah, a couple hours away." I said, "I'd come over to look at the bridge and maybe snap a few pictures." They said, "You want to be careful. People go in that bridge, they park their vehicle and walk in that bridge and they're never seen again." I said, "Well, it's damn funny you mentioned that." I said, "Me and the dog got ready to go through there, and a woman and her dog coming toward us from the other side. They passed by us. I waved, and she nodded her head, kept on walking. And now I'm not kidding you, swear I'm down, somebody cut a big old fart. That lady that was sitting there, and her husband's eyes got about that big around. Looked like they was ready to shit a donut. They let me finish. That's when she come back. She walked into that cloud, and psh, her and the dog both gone. There wasn't no sign of struggle or a holler. The lady sitting there with her hand up against her mouth and her eyes great big, buggy. The guy sitting there, and he kind of looks down, looks back up. He goes, like we was saying, you got to be careful around this bridge. Nobody knows why. Nobody knows where they go. Just periodically, randomly, person go missing. They find their vehicle. They don't find them. I said, well, it was just I wasn't going to tell them I knew what the hell it was, because shit, they might call damn cops on me. I said, well, just be careful, because I just got back. I seen that lady walk into the, looked like a cloud, and disappeared. They said, you got to be one of the first people that we know of that actually witnessed it. I said, well, I don't know what's going on, but I know one thing. You won't catch me going across that bridge anymore. I got my eyesight of it. I won't be coming back here. So if you ever wonder about some of those covered bridges, be careful, because they are windows to the other side, portals to the other side. And just so you know, these windows and portals to these other realms can pop up inside your house. They can be anywhere. They can be in the woods, in town, in your house, in any kind of a building. And I can tell you this for a fact. They even open up on some roads and some interstates. I know, me and my dad went through one, and luckily, after driving several hours in this son of a bitch, we come out, and we was way off course from where we was supposed to be, and we lost several hours. So if you're ever down around by Louisville driving on the interstate, be careful about taking any exits off to go get you something to drink or pee, because you might wind up at that same truck stop we did that wasn't there. But it was in another realm. You hear a lot of these about lost time, and that's just two cases right there. The covered bridge and what I just told you about down there along that interstate in Louisville. Now, if you're lucky, you'll go in drive for a while, and you'll find your way back out. But then again, what if you don't? You're just going to have to make do. Because ain't nobody can help you. You're just on your own, so you just be careful out there. You see a crazy looking fog like that. Because see, that night down at Louisville, we come into an electrical fog. It was so bad you couldn't look through the front windshield, and luckily it was warm out. I had my head out the window watching the yellow line because I couldn't see the white line on the other side. That's how fucking foggy it was. I really should have just pulled over. But who knows where it would have kicked me off at. Anyway, we made it out of there, but just be careful because, you see these fogs and you'll see them roll in across the field, like sometimes I see them here come across the field. And you think, oh hell, that's just a fog. Nighttime, you never know. But I'll give you some hints. If you're in a vehicle and your radio's on, it's playing real good and smooth, good sounding, and all of a sudden you lose station and all it wants to do is sit there and fizzle and crackle, and when your hair stands up and tries to touch the ceiling in the car, yep, that's a sign right there. You get that feeling, you might want to turn around and drive the fucker back out of there. Unless you got guts and decide to just keep on driving and roll the dice. I didn't have a choice because we had to get someplace. Had I had a choice, well, I'd turn that son of a bitch around. I'd have went back outside of that fog. I'd have pulled over and rolled the windows up, locked the door, and took a fucking nap. We just got lucky. Some people don't. So, just remember, there's a case too, somewhere over there where the Civil War took place on the northern side, where these people bought a house and they'd be in that house and they decided to have a party one night, and they did. This one lady was sitting there and she kept seeing this guy in the other room, kind of glowing and shimmering. You kind of see through him, so she kind of walked away from the party and walked toward that room. And when she got there, the guy was standing there holding his rifle. And she looked over to see what he was looking at, and he was watching these doctors and nurses working on this guy that must have been one of his friends, and he had brought him in there to take care of a gunshot wound from the war. She was sitting there watching that, and all of a sudden, it just faded away. And the people that owned the house walked up behind her and was like, "What are you doing?" She said, "You ain't gonna believe what I just seen." And they said, "Well, come in here for a minute." So she's telling them. They was like, "We're glad you said something. We've been seeing this ever since we moved in." She goes, "Well, what would have happened if I would have stepped in that room?" She goes, "I don't know. Maybe you'd have went into their realm, and when they disappeared, you might have disappeared with them. It might have closed up." Wasn't long those people moved out of there. I'm just saying, these windows, kind of like a veil, can be open. Sometimes they open by themselves, and you get a chance to look in and see the other side, see what was going on. And if you've ever had that happen, no, you're not crazy. It's true. There's natural ones that open. They just open up randomly at places. You can also open up one of them using a Ouija board, tarot cards, and a few other devices. But just remember one thing. If you got both hands on that planchette playing that damn thing, you take one hand off, scratch your nose. You left that door open. And just because you turn loose of both hands and walk off, come back because you didn't close it out, say goodbye, you've left that door open. Now you can't close it. Something else has took control, and they're going to leave that portal open so they can bring their buddies over. Good or bad. So just remember that. Always, too, before you buy a house, if you're interested in a house and you go to buy it, you want to know the history. Check with the local libraries. You can get history there, and each town has a history museum or history place there, history about the area. You can go there and check too. They're supposed to disclose all this information. Somebody died in the house or something tragedy happened, but not always will they. And if they don't, and you happen to go start having a haunting, seeing these portals open up in your house, the veils open up in there, go check out the history of that town and that piece of property. It's free, don't cost you a dime. They'll even make copies sometimes. It may cost you 5 or 10 cents a paper, and you get that in case that happens. You decide you want to move and you can't get your money back. You get that from the library or the historical society, and you take that to court. They're supposed to disclose all that kind of information. The good ones will. Some of the shady fuckers won't. But there's your tip for today. You keep that in mind. Unless you're one of those people that just like ghosts and don't give a shit, well, in that case, good for you. Welcome to the club. But for the others that are scared and think they in over their head, there's your little bit of advice you can use. Might help you out. It will. You can check into all that. It is a mandatory law that they're supposed to close stuff like that. So there's your one to grow on. Like I said, these portals can open up, these veils and portals, they can open up anywhere. You can open up one and leave it open, like I said, using the tarot cards and rituals and things. But then there's some that just, for whatever reason, they open and you get a look into the past. Might be back into the Civil War or according to where you're at. Hell, you might even look back to when George Washington was president. You never know what you're going to see. But a word to the wise. When that window opens up, just like a portal, unless you want to roll the dice, I'd advise you not to step in there. Because that son of a bitch closes, it's hard to tell them where you're going to end up at. And let me tell you something. Dressed like we do now, and you go into that son of a bitch and you wind up around the Civil War time, they're allowed to shoot you for being a phantom or a witch. Or hang your ass. So, keep that in mind. Well, I just want to let you know about these things because they do happen. I've seen a lot of them in my time, natural ones that open. I was even in Virginia and seen one time. Damnedest thing I ever seen. I was sitting out in the yard. I could listen to the ocean. No further than what I was, I could periodically feel a little bit of ocean spray because it was in the air at nighttime. You look toward the pole light, you could see it. Anyway, one night I was sitting out there, me and a couple of friends, and shooting the shit, watching a little fire going, and seen these two pilots. How do I know they were pilots? Because they were dressed like pilots. They had the helmet with the big tube, and bag on their back with the parachute. They'd walk around these people's yard. What the fuck are they doing? Don't look like anybody I know. So they was walking around trying to figure out how to get out of these people's backyard. I didn't know how in the fuck they got in there. But I'm watching them. They was looking for a gate, but they couldn't find it. So I called over and told the neighbor, I said, hey, there's somebody out there in a pilot outfit walking around out there in your backyard. Well, I'll check it out. Stay on the phone with me. That's okay. So he's carrying his phone, go out the back door, and I'm watching him. He sees him, and he's like, hey. The guy turned and looked at him. They had the glass, the bubble, flipped up. They turned and looked. All of a sudden, they turned back and looked at each other, made a gesture. They just faded away. Well, went on a couple of years, and come to find out, before there was houses there in that cul-de-sac, it was kind of a marshland, swampy like, and some pilots had crashed in there during World War II. They were test pilots, and going on a run, they had some kind of a problem and crashed. Well, when they was cleaning that out to make those place for those houses, they found some wreckage, and the builders didn't want to stop clearing because they was on a deadline so they'd get paid, and they kind of just pushed up to the side, didn't tell nobody. We wasn't the only ones that seen those pilots. Everybody in that cul-de-sac had seen them a time or two in their yard or out in their front yard or standing out there on the road or the sidewalk. But eventually, somebody was putting an underground swimming pool in, and they was digging, and they found the two bodies. Once they took two bodies out and give them a military Christian burial, we didn't see them no more. But periodically, people find a bolt or something when they're digging around their yard, or a rivet from one of those old planes that crashed there. But again, you just never know. At nighttime, you can't see these portals and veils open if you're in pitch black. So keep that in mind too. You start feeling a little queasy or static electricity in the air, better turn that flashlight on. You walk in that son of a bitch and poop might be gone, or hell, you might walk into it and end up 15 miles down the fucking road. Standing in somebody's fucking yard and get shot. Or you pop in there and somebody's big-ass mean dog in their yard, and that portal drops you out in their yard right there beside that dog taking a piss. You'll all get dog bit. Never know where that portal gonna drop you out. Hell, could be some guy in there taking a bath or a shower. Fucking pop you right through into the bathroom where he's at. Or he might be in there taking a crap reading the newspaper, and you pop into a hell of a sight and a hell of a stink. Have a damn stroke right there in somebody else's bathroom. Anyway, just be aware of that kind of thing. This kind of shit happens a lot. If people try not to talk about it, they don't want people thinking they nuts. But it does happen. And it's hard to tell them where in the hell you end up at. You get in that son of a bitch. So there's your one to grow on, and I'll catch you in the next one. Y'all take care, and this is Henry saying good night. Thank you. subscribe, give me a thumbs up, message me. I'll answer questions. I always try to answer the questions. So take care and good night.